Always a good start. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Daniel, and I'm a technical trainer here at iPlato. We're going to go through the campaign messaging and patient questionnaires training session today. This will be a relatively short session. We're aiming for 30 minutes, and I'm going to show you how to go through sending a health campaign using our call recall function, if you'd like to use that as well, and invite patients to book into a slot type of your choosing, and also our newest and latest feature, patient questionnaires as well. So we'll be looking at all of those today. Now we're going to do this based on sending a flu campaign because we're in the middle of flu season, of course. So I'll just run over again the agenda here, just whilst we wait for people to join. So we'll be covering campaign messaging. So that's your bulk text messaging, and we'll look at all three steps: how to create a group, how to create templates and manage those templates, and also how to create trigger words as well. We'll also look at the call recall function, which is very similar to campaigns, but using the MyGP app and allowing patients to book an appointment in a slot type that you choose to make available. We'll also go over then the details of our patient questionnaires as well. And this is the ability to send a questionnaire to a patient and be able to get real-time information back from them into your Connect system, which you can then choose to save to your clinical system. So I can see someone is joining. Fantastic. Welcome to the session there. Thank you very much for joining. We've only just begun. You haven't missed anything yet. We've just got the agenda on the screen there. So we're going to cover today campaign messaging, and that is in terms of sending out a flu campaign. That's going to be our example today. We're going to be able to use others. But the agenda is on the screen there. My name's Daniel, and I'm a technical trainer here at iPlato. So we're going to run through how to do the campaign messaging. That's your bulk messaging. So it's creating groups, creating templates to use, creating trigger words as well for patient responses. We're going to look at the call recall function that is available for you on your Connect platform using the MyGP app. And also our latest feature, patient questionnaires, which will allow you to send information to a patient and allow them to respond with their information, which you can then code back into your clinical system. That's with blood pressure and BMI at the moment, and further ones are coming. So that's our agenda today. Now, we will have some time for Q&As at the end. The chat is open, so you'll be able to post any questions there. It is just myself today. Sim sends her apologies, your account manager, and she can't make it today. So do feel free to post any questions in the chat as we go, and I will answer them as and when I see them. So that might be at the end, but any questions, do pop them in the chat as we go. Okay, fantastic. Well, let's get cracking. So what we would need to do first of all, of course, is go to our Connect system and actually log in. Now for the section of training, I'm just going to take my camera off as well so that we can all focus on the screen itself there. So I'm going to log into my demo system here. This will be very familiar to most of you. This is a demonstration site, so we can see we've got a demo site in the corner. Obviously, your own systems will look basically the same, but will have some slight differences. Now, when sending a bulk message, first of all, a campaign text message, you would begin that in your own clinical system. You'd run a search for the patients that you would like to message, and you would then export that onto an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file. And in true Blue Peter fashion, here is one I created earlier. Let me open this up a bit more, and just so everyone can see. Now, when you export the information, if you are Vision or EMIS users, you just need to make sure that you've got an ID column, patient ID on your spreadsheet. If you are System 1 users, then make sure you've got the NHS number to use, and that's how we work with both systems. So I'm going to copy the ID number. I'm going to assume I'm an EMIS system for now. I'm going to copy the ID number here. Once I've copied it, I come back to my Connect system here, and we need to create that as a group for our system to recognize and then send information to our patients. So I go to campaigns on the left here, and I go to groups. Now there's going to be a number of groups here. You might not have many on your system, of course. You might have a fair few depending on how you've been using the system. So don't worry what you can see here. Again, this is just our demo site. For a new group, we'd go straight to create group. And we need to name it first of all. Now, that could be named exactly the same as your search from your clinical system so you know what you're sending. So, for example, using our flu invite today, I'm going to say I'm inviting my over 65s. Now, the group type is patients, so I leave that as patients and I click Add Recipients. I can then either add recipients individually. So if I wanted to just look up someone by name, I can do, but we're going to be dealing with patient data in larger amounts. So I'm going to use this box at the bottom, patient IDs. Top tip, System 1 users, do make sure that says NHS numbers before pasting. I'm using IDs at this point, so I'm going to paste in what I copied, and I'm going to move them to the right. Once they're on the right, they're ready to save. If I need to, I can click excluded and get a list of any patients who are not registered with a mobile. That will allow me to copy paste them somewhere safe because I know I'm going to need to message them another way. There's my original list when clicking on included, and I just save that list. And there it is, Flu Invite over 65. It was created today. Group type is patients, and there are 8 members in that group. So really straightforward for groups. A couple of very quick top tips on those. Group members there, I've got just 8 in this example. You could actually have up to 6,000 in one group if you want to. So it's up to yourselves how many patients you may be sending to. You can obviously break larger groups up by creating multiple groups. So we've got one here. You might want to create 2 or 3 groups and send them at different times, for example. Date it was created or last changed. That's also really important because that is static, this group. It does not change until you make a change to it. So when you create your group, if that group was created a few weeks ago and you didn't get a chance to send for some reason, you may want to consider editing the group or simply deleting it and starting again. Those are the little buttons on the right here. So you could simply delete the group and start again with a new search, just so you know you've got the most up-to-date patient data in that group. Once we've got the group, we need to create our template, of course. Now that's also under the campaigns menu, and we go to templates here. Now, again, there's a few on the screen here. Don't worry too much about these other ones. These are all examples. We actually have a help site within your Connect system, which is up here. And in a minute, I'll show you where you can get some example templates. I'm actually going to use a couple of example templates today. They're all available on the help site. So when you see them, don't worry about trying to write them or copy them down or anything like that. Don't worry. I will show you where you can actually already get hold of those. So if I want to create a new template, I just go straight to here. And it wants to give it a subject. Now you can either file it away under something that you already have. For best practice guidelines, we do suggest giving each template a specific subject. So I'm going to click Add New Subject, and I'm going to say this is for my flu invites. In the pink box, we paste in what we've copied, and here is my example text. So a couple of quick things to point out. I've got a mail merge term here that will pick up the first name of the patient in the group. So that will happen automatically for me. Nothing you need to do with that at all. That's particularly useful if you are sending, for example, your flu nasal vaccinations for 2 to 3 year olds. You might want to put that in there so that when the parent or guardian receives the text, they know who the invite is actually for. Here we can see we've got some information asking them to call to book an appointment because this is a batch message. And here we've got text back decline to refuse. Now decline here is in capital letters because this is what we would call a trigger word. We can assign a clinical code to this word so that when the patient texts that word back to you, your clinical system will update automatically with the fact they have refused this year's flu jab so that you don't have to chase them. Now, right now, that's a piece of text. It doesn't mean anything to the system until we assign it a code. So keep that in your mind. We're going to cover that in just a moment. Before we move on to creating a trigger word, I just want to show you one final thing here, which is the characters used. Now, universal limit for all SMS messages for a single message is 160 characters. So this is nicely under, that's just under the 160. So therefore would go as one message and therefore cost 1 credit to send. If you went over that, that would be absolutely fine. You would still be able to send your message. But as you can see, once you go over the 160, that would go as more than one part and therefore cost more than 1 credit to send. So for keeping your for good credit use, keep your message below 160 where possible. I'm happy with that one, so I'm going to save, and it will file that away under the alphabetical order for the subject. So we can see there it's come in under D here. There's your flu invite. You can create as many different versions of these, of course, if you would like as well. Now, if you do want to find your template, find some options, you can click on the help button in here. That will open up a new web page. There's some tiles here with information on each part of the system, and you've got a search function here as well. So if I simply searched for campaign messaging, then you can see we've got coronavirus vaccination help page, how to send out a flu campaign overview, and you'll be able to go in there and find different help sections. And it doesn't matter how you word it; it will bring back different options for you for how to send the campaign. So I've created my subject and my template here that I want to use. I need to just activate this trigger word now because I want patients to be able to respond with this and update that automatically so I don't have to do it. So I go to campaigns on the left and I go to trigger words. Now we've got a few examples on the screen. These are relating to a smoker status campaign. So the campaign name is on the left, the clinical code and the trigger word is in the middle, and whether or not the campaign is active is at the end here. So if you want an active campaign, it should always show green like that there. Now I'm going to use some example EMIS codes today. If you are using System 1 or indeed SNOMED codes, then don't worry, we're fully compatible with those. It's just the example for today. Another top tip on that, actually, anytime you do use a clinical code, we always suggest searching in your clinical system for the code you'd like to use, just because of how many different variations there can be, and you'll want a specific one to pop into the system here. So my code isn't on the screen. I'm going to go to Add New. I'm going to put in the campaign name. So in this case, it's a flu invite or a flu vaccination. My trigger word was decline, so I'm going to put that in here in capital letters. Doesn't actually matter if the patient text upper or lowercase. This is just so it's nice and clear for our patients and for ourselves. And then I'm going to paste in the clinical code I'm using as an example. When you do so, you'll be able to get the term, and when you select that, it will populate that for you automatically. You then select an end date. Now, you can select any date you like, but we would suggest putting a good couple of months, maybe even a few months on the end of that campaign so that you catch all of your responses. So I'm going to go through to the end of March next year, end of flu. And the reason for that is even though you'll get most of your responses in the first 2 to 3 days, you are likely to get your late responders, those ones who come 2 or 3 weeks later and go, oh gosh, I never sent that text back. And then suddenly you get your text message with the word decline coming through. So you still want that to code, of course. So give it a good few months on the end date. If I click save, that's going to put that on the system and we can see that there. Now, final top tip on trigger words, because you are assigning a unique clinical code into a unique trigger word, you would not be able to use the same trigger word on two campaigns that run at the same time. If I even tried to do that right now and maybe did an asthma review and tried to use the word decline, if I put in the same clinical code, I know that's not the correct one for asthma, it's just to show you an example. You can see that the save button isn't active for me, doesn't let me save it because decline's already being used. You may need to try a different trigger word. For example, the word asthma here, and that would then be allowed to be saved. Okay, once I've created all three parts of my message here, the group, the template, and activated a trigger word if I'm using it, all I need to do is send the message, which is under campaigns again, and we go to new message. On the screen, we have our select recipient stage. And again, if we're sending to just one or two people, we might want to look them up individually and we can use a search box here. You can search by EMIS ID as well, for example. I'm going to use my group, which is down here. So if I look for my group, there they are, flu invite 65, move them across. Once they're on this right-hand side, we're in the right place to move forward. And we can then do create message. Now we're on our templates tab here. This will show you all the templates arranged by subject again. Now you may be able to see patient questionnaires here. Now we are going to cover that in a minute or two. So keep in mind that that exists and we're going to come back to it. For now, I just want to send my flu invites, which is this one here. So I select the text, move it across to the right-hand side and go forward. And then I can schedule when it goes. If you wanted to go straight away, you just leave that as is, of course. If you want to send later, then you can pick a date that you want that to go. So maybe your clinics won't open for a while and you want them to receive that message later. You can even set it so that it goes late in the afternoon. You have full control over the timing here in 24-hour clock. Now, you can also add a clinical code to the message you're sending, so it updates your clinical system that you have sent these messages to help with things like your QoF reporting. So in this case, I'm going to add a clinical code that tells the system that I have sent a flu vaccination message. Again, the term populates below for me, and I can add free text here as well that will go back with that code, in this case, sent via SMS or sent via iPlato, whatever you might want to use. If I click save, that will update. Now, very importantly, reply email here. I'm asking for my patients to reply in this message with the word decline. Now, many patients may do that, and that will then code automatically for us. When they do that, the system would like to keep you apprised of those responses by giving you an email copy. Now, the patient will never see the email, they just reply as a text. But it will always default to the user on the system. So in this case, my little training email here. Now, if you want that email to go somewhere else, like a generic one for your practice, then you can tell the system to do a custom email list, pop in the email address, move it to the box here, and click save. Top tip, always do that on every campaign you send, as the system will never assume that the same email is to be used twice, because there might be different users sending different campaigns. I'm going to click confirm to send. That will give me a confirmation of what I've done, including a little overview of the message, how many people it's going to. Now, my site here shows a credit balance 0 and then a minus after sending. For your area, I believe you are funded by your CCG, but you're funded with a preloaded balance. So you may see a positive figure here in current credits. If you see a negative figure, then don't click send, click cancel, contact your account manager sim and or our support team and ask to arrange for a top up of credits so that you can send your messages. It's picked up that I wanted that message to go in the future. We can see the date and time there, the default clinical code, and the code that I've just entered. I'm going to have a copy sent to my reply email as well, so that I've got a copy of this information. Clicking send will then tell the system it is now out for business, that's on its way, and we'll find our messages in the messages tab. So I can go to the outbox and any messages that are queued up to go. Just going to click reset there. It's being a bit slow for me there today. Never mind. Any messages due to go out will sit in the outbox for you. Once they've been sent, they'll be in the sent box for you in here, and patient replies you'll be able to find in the inbox under messages. Now, just before we go to patient questionnaires, I do want to show you Call Recall as well. Now, for anybody who has used the MyGP app before, this is a similar function, but what Call Recall allows you to do is it will send a health campaign to your patients, and those patients that you've targeted for a campaign, they will be able to book into a slot type you allow them to book into, and only those patients. It doesn't make it available to your population at large. So this would also be under campaigns, and it's this last one here called Recall. Now, again, don't worry if you can see a few different examples here. This is just our demo site. I'm going to go straight to add new so that you can see how we would put this together. So here we can see step 1, select recipients. This is no different to how you would build your group in the normal batch messaging campaigns. I can even show a different example if you happen to be a System 1 user. Let's copy the NHS number here instead. Tell the system it's going to be an NHS number and paste in those details. Once I do so, I can move them to the right-hand side. There are my patients ready to send to, and I can even export excluded patients via Call Recall. Now, you don't have to worry about who has the MyGP app and who doesn't with Call Recall. The system will work that out for you. All you need to do is tell the system what message you would like to be sent to those using MyGP and those that are yet to download it. And that's what step 2 is all for here for the message section. Now, again, I'm going to create some templates here. Again, these are available under the Help tab. So if I've got a patient who's using my GP and I want them to use the app to book the appointment to book the flu jab directly without having to call the practice, then we can see here an example message. And they can still text back decline to refuse. That's the beauty of call recall. You still have the reply trigger word function. For the box on the right, for those patients who are yet to use MyGP, then we can let them know that it exists. So we give them a link to be able to book and download and then book their appointment, or they can still text decline to refuse, and that goes as a normal SMS message. The other advantage to targeting your MyGP users is that any data messages sent to your patient, that's the box on the left here, they go for free. They do not cost any credits to send. Now, in order for a patient to actually book into the slot type, you need to make one available. Step 3 here will show you a mirror of the slots available on your clinical system. So obviously they're going to be different to our example ones here. But let's say we want them to book into the flu vaccination clinics. I can even select the slot and even rename it if I want to. So I'm going to call it flu jab for my patients to book into. I can then tell the system that I want this button to appear no earlier than, say, Monday, and it's going to disappear by the end of that week, by the Thursday, because all of my flu clinics, they're going to be a week later. So I'm going to give them a week to go into the app and book those appointments. I can then tell the system when I'd like the message to send. In this case, you would want, I'm going to start the button to appear on the 27th of September. So I want my message to go the same day. I definitely don't want it to go earlier because I don't want the message to go out and then the button to not be there for my patients to book into. Of course, that would be very frustrating. So I'm going to tell the system, please send on the Monday. I'm going to tell it to send at 12 o'clock. That's fine. And then just like your health campaign, your batch message from earlier, you can add a sending code as well to go back to your clinical system. Again, I'm using an EMIS code. It may be that you will use SNOMED. You will be able to do that as well. If you have moved to SNOMED codes, do let our support team know. They can be found at help@iplato.com, and they will just simply move over your system to SNOMED. When I say your system, I mean the iPlato Connect system for your practice, of course. This also allows you to add free text, so I've given an example there. And then you would simply confirm to send. The box appears at the top, and you get the same reconfirmation of the message, like we saw with the health campaign a second ago. So if I click send on that one, there you go. We can now see that's gone in, and that's been sent to my patients as well. And that is Call Recall. To give you a little bit of an idea, a practice that we spoke to recently used Call Recall to start messaging out to flu vaccinations. And they messaged to a couple of different cohorts, over 65s, the 2 to 5-year-olds, for example. And when we last spoke to them, they had over 500 people book through the MyGP app, which we estimated together that if they had called, it would have taken roughly a minute to book each person that called into into an appointment, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but we erred on the side of caution and said 1 minute, which we worked out has already saved them over 9 hours of phone call time. All those people, and there's been more booking since then, all those people have been able to book straight through the MyGP app so that they didn't have to call to make those appointments. So there we go. That's our call recall section as well. That's to deal with the most of the campaign section. We now want to show you the feature that's upcoming, which is the patient questionnaires. Now for that, we have a site that I use. So I'm just going to log into that site. There we go. And patient questionnaires works very similar to campaigns in that you would create a group for your patients that you want to send to. For example, you might create a group of people that you would like to know their blood pressure. Now, you won't need to create templates for patient questionnaires. They're already there. So once you've created your group, you would go straight to new message and you then find your group. You might do this individually, of course, as well. You might look up a specific person, but I've got a group for you to use today. So I would select my group, move them to the right. And then in the next step, instead of using the templates that are here, I would now select patient questionnaires. Now I'm going to send a blood pressure one to myself here so that we can show you this real time. You would move that across and you can see the template here. Now this template in the middle, you can adjust it if you would like. We would advise to keep it as is. If you do make any adjustments to the text here, that is okay. Top tip, Do not change anything on this link here, as this is the link the patients are going to use in order to be able to uh, um, reply to your questionnaire. In the sending options, there's no sending code here, as one will automatically go back to say that you've sent this questionnaire to your patients. I'm going to leave it as send now because I want it to go straight away. And I'm going to leave it to say save patient records manually. So this will allow us to show you today how these records come into your Connect system and then how you would actually save them to your clinical system. So you can check those responses before they suddenly end up in your clinical system. So I'm going to confirm to send. I'm going to send that through. That's already gone into the messages there. Brilliant. Now, what I'm going to do is my message has already come through. I am now going to change my share. I'm actually going to share through my phone app here, so I can show you what the patient sees. So we've sent the text to the patient already. So let's go into our campaign messaging. And I am going to share my screen. And there we go. We're sharing the screen. So I'm going to go to my messages because I have had a message. I'm also just going to try and take that away. There we go. Lovely. So there we go. We can see the message at the top there. I'm going to click into it. I'm going to click on my link that I've got there to reply. Just takes a moment to load up as it goes there. There we go. And it's now asking for blood pressure questionnaire, so I can get started. So the first thing I need to do is confirm my date of birth. I've got a dummy date of birth for this patient. They get 3 opportunities to enter. Now, when I do so, I can say whether or not I have or have not got a blood pressure monitor. If I don't, then the system will let you know about what you can do and where to get one. I'm going to pretend I've got one today, so I can go next. And we've even got some guidelines that patients can follow for taking blood pressure. When you click in and start putting in your measurements, it will even also give you a range. You know, the range should be between these figures. So I'm just going to pop in my examples. So we can see that system's helping out there to make sure that you don't patients don't accidentally end a figure that doesn't quite match up. So I've got my readings in. I'm going to click next, and there you go. My answers have been sent to my practice. So there you go. That's the patient side of things. So what does that look like once it gets into the Connect system here? So let me just re-share my screen for the system. There we go. So if I go to my messages tab, you saw it earlier under the inbox, we now have a questionnaires function. So if I go into here, and there's my reading. So it's already come into my system and it's letting me know there's my blood pressure reading. Now we can see some examples of what other ones look like. So if something goes wrong, it will let you know, the system there. You can delete readings as well if you need to. And we can see ones that have already been saved. So when I receive my reading from my patient, if I have a look at that and go, yep, they've taken that correctly, that looks great, I can save and the system will just let you know it's in progress at the moment, and then it will look like the ones below once that's been saved to your clinical system. And that is patient questionnaires. Really straightforward, really simple. As you could see there, it does start with, let me go back to the templates. We're starting with blood pressure and body mass index as well with the BMI. Others will be being released in the near future. We're going to be looking at things like smoking, alcohol, depression, anxiety questionnaires, and more will be coming down the line as well. This is just what we've started with these two. For more information, you can always speak to your account manager as well. I'll bring her details up on the screen and I'll email through the little presentation slides that have those details on there. As well as those details, you have our help section. So click on the help button to get more details here. If you'd like further training, you can also book a further training session with us, and you can actually do that in a self-booking form here. So you can actually pick if you want to go over your appointment reminders, batch messaging, and call recall, the two that we've done today. I'll pop that as a link on the Teams chat as well for you, but we will send the the last slide you'll see in a second, which just goes through with some extra links about where to go to. So if you do need any more help, you can contact your account customer success manager here, Sim. Help Center is there, and then the refresher training link I mentioned a moment ago will be here for you. So that is what we wanted to go through today with you. I open up the floor to any questions. So I can see one person with us at the moment. So if you have any questions, do feel free to use the Teams chat function, and you can ask a question, and I can respond. I can even unmute you if you'd like to ask a question verbally. If you don't have any questions, don't feel free. All's okay. Oh, in which case, fantastic. What if you do have any questions and you think of them later? Always the way. Put the phone down and then suddenly realise there's something you want to go through. Then drop an email through to Sim, your account manager here, and she'll be able to help you. She was just out of the office today, so unable to attend today. I'll send through the slide here though to your email so that you've got that information as well. Um, Otherwise, thank you very much indeed for your time. I really do appreciate it. I hope you got some useful information out of there. Otherwise, feel free to leave the meeting now, and we will see you again another day. Thank you very much.